You are listening to Let's Talk Trio on podcasts. Keep up with the latest episodes by downloading the Podbean app or stream episodes via our social media accounts. Search for Let's Talk Trio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This episode is sponsored by Student Access. Student Access, the leader in Trio software. Student Access is an online database solution that allows Trio programs to track their students' information, connect with students by text messages, streamline the APR, and work from anywhere, all online, with automatic updates for changes from the Department of Education. Their technical support team includes former Trio staff and has over 50 years of combined experience working with Trio. Make it easier to focus on your priority, the students. For more information and to request a free demo, visit their website at www.studentaccess.com or call them toll-free at 1-800-801-1232. That website again is www.studentaccess.com or 1-800-801-1232. Be sure to share your favorite episodes on your social media by tapping that share button. This is a great way to support the podcast. Now here's your host, Juan Rivas.
Thank you, Amelia, for that wonderful introduction. Hello, listener, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Trio. I am your host, Juan Rivas. In today's episode, we have Elijah Sandoval, who is a current participant of the Academic Advancement Center at Colorado State University. Elijah is on the podcast to talk about their educational journey, their experiences at Colorado State University and other colleges, and what it means to continue and persist in a college environment. So coming up in just a bit, Elijah Sandoval. A huge thanks to our sponsors, Angelica Villalpando, Rosario Riley, Dr. Ryan Barone, Dr. Jamie Motley, Angelica Valdez, Jaded Electronics, TrioJoblist.com, NOSOTROS Education Center, and Student Access. Thank you all so much for your continued support of this podcast. You too can be a sponsor of the Let's Talk Trio podcast. Head on over to Patreon and search for Let's Talk Trio. Choose one of 4 patron levels. You can support this podcast for as little as $1 a month. $1 a month goes a long way in supporting this podcast. If you would like to give a one-time donation to the Let's Talk Trio podcast, head on over to PayPal and search for us using our business handle, at Let's Talk Trio. Again, it's the @ symbol, Let's Talk Trio, all together. If you would like to nominate a participant, staff, or alumni to be on the podcast, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. Again, a great episode featuring Elijah Sandoval, a participant of the Academic Advancement Center at Colorado State University. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi, Trio Nation. My guest on the Let's Talk Trio podcast is a current participant of the Academic Advancement Center at Colorado State University. They served as a vice president for associated students at Colorado State University for the academic year 2022 to 2023. In their free time, they enjoy traveling, spending time with their boyfriend, fiance, has a black cat named Salem, and looks forward to working in higher education. Welcome to the podcast, Elijah Sandoval. Elijah, welcome.
Hello. Hi. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I guess I have one correction to make for you. He's not my boyfriend. He's my fiance. So
fiance,
official.
It's official. He is now fiance.
He has upgraded the title. Yes.
Congratulations. When did this engagement happen?
Thank you. So it happened on April 1st of this year. And I know like what you're thinking, April Fool's Day, that's odd. But that's actually our anniversary. We have been together for 8 years now. And
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
8 years engaged. And, you're doing a lot of great things at CSU. For the audience, I've known Elijah for a little under a year now, and I can tell you that Elijah is very, very much passionate about education. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do at CSU?
Yeah, so I am the current, or I guess outgoing, student body vice president for the Associated Students of Colorado State University, ASCSU, which is our student government on campus. I also work in the Academic Advancement Center as a peer mentor, and I'm just a mentor really to everybody who needs it, like on my free time. And I'm also a full-time student, so I do quite a bit.
Yeah, you're juggling a lot of things all at once. So this semester has certainly flown by. And as of this recording, you're in finals week right now. How do you feel?
I feel great.
Oh, yeah?
I like, to put it lightly, I am so tired that literally today, because I had no finals, I didn't have anything today, I was off. I slept a majority of the day. And
wow.
It felt
recovery.
So amazing. So I'm so thankful that another semester has ended, but I'm also really, really happy that it's ended, because then I can just sleep and relax and spend time with my fiance and my cat and just relax.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Talk to us a little bit about yourself, Elijah. What do you enjoy doing, and what have you liked most about living in Fort Collins?
Yeah, so I actually live in Loveland. So about a 30
Oh, you
minute,
live in Loveland?
Yeah, about a 30-minute drive from Fort Collins, but I spend a majority of my time in Fort Collins. I like to say that I sleep in Loveland and I live in Fort Collins. But I really enjoy being on campus, hanging out with people. I love like going to the little different stores in Old Town and seeing like the old mom and pop shops. I have yet to find a really good Mexican restaurant, because that's the one thing that I'm missing from Denver, is a really good, authentic Mexican restaurant. And
it's tough out here. It is tough out here.
It's so hard. Or like in Denver, it's like you have a Mexican restaurant on like every corner, and someone in a little cart or a cooler selling tamales at the grocery store. But here it's like you have to go searching for it.
Yeah, it is absolutely like a treasure hunt to get Mexican food out here. Absolutely. Do you have a favorite spot? I know we heard you say Fort Collins, Old Town seems like to be a good favorite spot. Well, what about on campus? Where do you like to be on campus?
Yeah, so I have a few different spots. First, I love hanging out in AAC in the office.
Good old Gibbons Hall.
In Gibbons Hall, yep. I love the fact that it's on campus, but it's like so separated from campus that it's so quiet. And I love the fact that the train goes by like literally almost every 30 minutes, like clockwork, the train comes by. And I love that. I also, I think it's called the Cube by the library. It's the glass, like cube, I guess, connected to the library. I like going in there and going on the very top floor because I like people watching, and it makes me feel like a spy when I'm in there and just watching students on campus. So those are my favorite places.
What I've read, or I think I've heard in an article, is that those who like to people watch have like an elevated sense of themselves and the surroundings and their place kind of in the universe, which is always trippy to think about.
Yeah, and I think it's also like the fact that I like to call myself neurospicy. I have
what does that mean?
I'm neurodivergent, so like I have ADHD, anxiety, depression, all that fun stuff. But I'm more hyper aware of my surroundings than your average neurotypical person. So being high up like that, like I'm able to still get work done, but I'm still able to watch around me. Whereas if I were sitting like in the middle of the library or in the middle of the plaza, I would literally just be watching everybody else instead of focusing on what I need to do.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. So Elijah, we're going to rewind the clock a little bit. We're going to talk about a little bit about your upbringing. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, and what was that like for you?
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm neurodivergent, so it was definitely a challenge. I also went to a private Catholic school literally my entire life, from kindergarten all the way up until my senior year in high school. I graduated from a Catholic high school, so it was very different with the fact that like disabilities, I don't want to say they didn't exist or they didn't like weren't seen, but they weren't seen. They weren't acknowledged. Like they knew that I was special, and I use air quotes for special, but they didn't help me the way that I wanted to. Like I needed to be helped. They literally like separated me from the class during English and math time, and I went to a different room. So it was very different. Also the fact that I was raised by a single mom, and I'm an only child, and my mom, like there were times where she would work 2 jobs just to like put food on the table, just to make sure that like it started off with wanting to give me a good Christmas, and then it kind of morphed into, hey, we have extra spending money, this is nice. So she continued working 2 jobs the majority of my life. But that also meant that like when I get up, she would be leaving for work, I'd kiss her and say, okay, mommy, I love you, have a good day at work. And then by the time I got home, I was putting myself to bed, giving myself dinner, putting myself to bed, and then she would come home and then kiss me goodnight. So it was very different, but it meant that I was very self-sufficient, which I don't think is a bad thing, but I definitely didn't have your normal childhood, I guess.
No, yeah, I think you grew up already being self-sufficient, independent. You already had a taste of that independency. So that totally makes sense. Would it be fair to say that your mom valued education?
She did. She valued me doing good for myself more than anything. And that just happened to be in line with education. It was my grandparents that put an emphasis on education because, you know, they were like, in order to get a good job, you need to go to college, you need to have a degree, this, that, and the other. And while that's true, it's not as true as it was when they were growing up. I mean, my grandparents, they were growing up in like the 40s and the 50s, and my mom was growing up in the 60s and the 70s. So a lot has changed between the 50s and now. She definitely wanted me to just do good for myself. She wanted me to do whatever made me happy. And for the longest time, it was school. School made me happy. I loved learning. I loved like figuring out new things, like essentially learning my place in the world. But she was also very supportive when I took some time off from school in 2015. I call it my 3-year semester break, because it was only supposed to be a semester. It was supposed to be just 1 semester, and then it turned into 3 years. Wow. But she was supportive of that. She was like, do what you need to do to find yourself, do what you need to do to make money for yourself. And if you want to take a break from school, I support that. So
that is incredibly supportive. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you remember what you wanted to be when you were little?
I do.
You do?
I do.
You're laughing because I think you have your career all pictured out in your mind. So what was it? What did you want to be?
Oh my God, I look back at this and I have to laugh because I wanted to be the first woman in the NFL. I wanted to play football.
Oh, wow.
But here's the kicker. I hate
no pun
football.
Intended.
Yeah. I have never seen, I'll take that back. It's like when I was little, I had not seen a football game. I remembered them as like my mom yelling at the TV on Sunday morning and me trying to play with my Barbies or be in my room and like listening to music, trying to drown out her screaming. But I wanted to be the first woman football player.
Oh, that's super interesting. That's awesome. First of all, that's amazing. But I gotta ask, who was your mom rooting for?
She was rooting for the Broncos. She's a diehard Broncos fan.
All right.
She, even if they are on a losing streak, which I remember there were years where they were on a mega losing streak. Like she supported them. She was like ride or die.
Ride or die Broncos fan. What about you? I'm guessing you've learned the game of football by this point.
So now I have started watching football, but the only reason why I started watching it was because I had got into CSU and I started going to CSU, and that was a way for me and my mom to connect. Like we would FaceTime each other during the game. We would make sure that like we would literally like she'd pause it and be like, okay, I'm at this place. This is what is like, she would describe what's on the TV and I'm like, okay, I see it. Hit play now. And we would like sync up our TVs with each other.
Wow.
And we would be FaceTiming with each other through the entire game. And she would explain to me what is happening in real time.
Yeah, that's so cool.
That tradition actually started last semester. Because it was last semester. I had gone to my first football game or was it the semester? It was the semester before that, the year before that. So 2021, when I first started, I'd gone to my first football game and I really enjoyed it. And I was like, okay, I kind of want to watch it and figure out what's happening. So every season when there's a home game or even an away game, we would sit there and watch the game together. So
that's amazing.
Now I root for the Rams because that's literally the only one that I know.
Well, you're coming to college here, so you automatically have to root for the Rams.
Exactly.
And I'll be honest, like coming to work here, I was like a perk getting to root for the Rams, supporting Rams athletics. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
It's a perk. So when you were little, did you automatically like school? Were you drawn to school? Were you like, yes, got to go to school? Or did you have a different attitude toward it?
I think I had a love-hate relationship with it.
Love-hate.
Yeah. Like there were parts of school that I loved. Like I found that I loved reading. And this was actually in high school when I found these loves. Mm-hmm. I found out that I loved reading. I loved books, fantasy books to be exact.
I gotta ask, what type of fantasy genres are you into? Like futuristic sci-fi, or are you more kind of medieval type of fantasy? Yeah, I gotta ask that.
Yeah, so medieval fantasy, definitely. So like I say Harry Potter, but Harry Potter's not really medieval. I guess it's kind of medieval.
Could be because it's right. It's it takes place in modern, but when they go
to the school, it's like medieval.
It's definitely like a medieval feel type. Like you're just kind of like magic and weapons. That's what you're boiled down to. Yeah,
exactly.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. But then also like I was obsessed with Twilight for the longest time.
Really? I cannot laugh at you for that.
I mean, I still kind of am. Like when Midnight Sun came out, I was so excited and I read it like right when I bought it. I read it and it took me like maybe 4 hours to read it all the way through.
Wow.
Yeah. So I still kind of am obsessed a little bit, not as much. But so I guess like teen romance. So definitely young adults, YA, fiction, adventure. But then also as I grew up, my style has changed to like self-help, psychology, like just books that really like are more science-based. Oh, wow. So, okay. But yeah, I realized my love of reading in school, but I hated math. I absolutely hated math. I'm dyslexic and me and numbers just, it's alphabet soup up here. I hate it. I can't.
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah.
And then, so yeah, I loved reading, hated math. I really enjoyed, like I had some, like during my social studies classes, we talked a lot about like criminal justice and the law, and we did some civics stuff, and I really enjoyed that. So like, I guess if I'm really into a subject and I really like it, then I excel at it. I love it.
Yeah.
If I'm not into a subject or I hate it, I get so bored that I just zone out and I end up failing the class because I'm bored.
Yeah. So then in that same vein, could you talk to us about your middle school and high school years? What were they like for you?
I hated high school.
Oh.
Middle school was still kind of blended because I went to the same school from 4th grade to 8th grade. So to me, there was no middle school. It was just grade school. So really not much changed with that. But when I went into high school, I hated it. I'm not going to name the school because I don't want to throw them under the bus. I'm sure it's gotten better over time, but the school that I went to, like, it seemed like they only focused on the low income first gen students, which is fine, like, because I was considered first gen at the time, or I still am, but I wasn't, they didn't see me as low income, so they kind of just didn't pay attention to me. They brushed me off. That's middle school or high school is when I like seriously got diagnosed with depression and anxiety. Without giving too much away, I'll just say this. I didn't think I would make it to my 18th birthday because of how bad my life had gotten in high school. But I graduated, and it was the best feeling in the world to graduate and tell off the principal. And I'll have to show you the picture, but there is a picture that I have of like right when they snapped it, like I'm shaking hands with the principal getting my diploma, and he's like whispering to me, "I'm so proud of you." And I'm like, "No, you're not. You're just happy to get rid of me. Don't lie."
Oh, wow.
And then they say like to the camera, "Smile." And I'm over here smiling, and he has this like shock look on his face, and I have that captured.
Wow.
And it's so beautiful.
Okay.
But yeah, that was high school. Not great. But I grew up, I learned from it, and now I'm doing better in college.
So we won't stay in high school then too long. All I'm going to ask is really, were you thinking about colleges during high school? Were you thinking about being, going and getting your post-secondary education?
I was not, in full transparency.
Okay.
Like I said, I didn't think I would make it to my 18th birthday. And when I did make it to my 18th birthday, I didn't think I would graduate because I literally like skipped. When I say I skipped half of the first semester of my senior year, I'm not kidding. Like, I think I went to school maybe like twice a week, 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Like, it would be a miracle if I made it through a whole week. It would be like a treat if I went 3 times, like 3 days in a row out of the 5 days. But yeah, I didn't think I would graduate. But then it was like, college, what's that? I don't know what that is. Like, they never explained what college was. They were just like, you have to apply, you have to get into a college. Whether or not you go is a different story. And I was like, okay, well then I guess I'm going to save money and apply to community colleges because I know that I'm going to get into them. And they were like, no, you need to apply to 4-year universities. And I'm like, with my GPA, do you honestly think I'm going to get into a 4-year university? Really? Like, I had like a 2.1, 2.0, 1.5 GPA. Like, it was bad. So I wasn't really thinking about college. I did go into community college. I went to CCD, Community College of Denver, from 2013 to 2015. And there I was just like kind of going through the motion, and I started really enjoying it because I started learning new things, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then that's when I took my 3-year semester break. And then when I went back to community college at Red Rocks, that's when I was like, okay, I know what I want to do now. I have a clear direction.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what was the catalyst for you? What made the change? What made you say, you know what, I got to go to college? Or did you feel like, it's just the extra step I have to take?
So yeah, at first I thought it was just the extra step. And then when I was at CCD, the craziest thing happened that I will tell you the story, and I swear to you, it's 100% true. Like, I'm not. I met my biological father when I was at CCD. Yeah.
Was he a student getting a certificate, or?
No, so I went swimming with a friend of mine at the time, and we were in downtown Denver at the rec center, and I had walked her to the light rail station, and I was waiting for my mom to pick me up. And as I was walking to the light rail station with her, I saw this guy, and I kid you not, he was just sitting there. He was smoking. He was talking with a bunch of other people. He was Black, had silver white hair, like not salt and pepper hair, but like straight white hair.
Yeah.
He was dressed in white, and I swear to you, he was glowing.
Mm.
And I was like, that's odd. And I felt like this familiarity, but I was like, whatever. It's probably just some random dude. My mom picked me up, and she stopped at a stop sign, and she was like, she's like
You're okay.
cussing. And I'm like, what's going on? What's wrong? Like thinking something is wrong. And she looked at me with like a serious face with tears in her eyes. And she was like, do you want to meet your dad? I was like, excuse me? Come again?
Yeah.
I'm looking around like, is there I'm like looking around like, is there like a hidden camera? Am I being punked? Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Not like, out of everything she could have said, that was the last thing that, like, I never thought in a million years she would say that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she pointed out this man that I had noticed before, and she was like, that's your dad.
Whoa.
And I'm like, huh? And she was like, yeah, you have the choice. Like, you can meet him or we can continue driving. It's your choice. And Juan, I swear to you, when I heard a voice in my head that was like, if you don't meet him now, you never will.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I'll meet him. And
Mm-hmm.
I wish it was better than a telenovela. I wish someone was filming it, because I was like, it doesn't seem real.
Right. It's super surreal. Yeah.
Yeah. So as I started talking to him and I started getting to know him, he made it very clear how important school was, how important it is to get my degree and to graduate. But he didn't like do it in a forceful way. He did it in a very loving, nurturing way, like telling me what had happened to him, and because he didn't get his degree and how he doesn't want me to end up like him. And the last conversation we had, I had promised that I was going to get my diploma. I was going to graduate.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he passed away in 2015. That's why I had to take the break.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2018, I was getting stuck. Like, I had been through about 3 jobs. I had left all 3 jobs, and I was like, okay, well, what do I do now? Because I don't want to work in retail forever.
Right.
And I had a dream of that last conversation with him, and I was like, okay, that's what I need to do. So the next morning I woke up, I scheduled tours for different community colleges in the area. I did not go back to CCD, which I don't regret that decision at all.
Yeah.
But I went to tour couple different colleges, and I went to Red Rocks, and it was like something had clicked, that I was like, this is the school. And that's what got me back into school and got me my associate's degree in psychology. And I remember at Red Rocks, one of the first conversations that I had with first of all, that's when I learned about what TRIO was and like what it offered. And
right on.
The first conversation I had with my advisor was like, he straight up asked me, where do you want to go to university? Mm-hmm. It wasn't like a question of like, are you going, or like, if you could go, where would you want? He was like, where are you going?
Oh, so your advisor laid it out as this is the next step.
Yeah. And that's something that no one has ever done for me, because everyone else was like, if you go, what would you want to do? If you go, where would you want to go? If you could get accepted, where would you want to go?
Right.
He was like, okay, where do you want to go? And at the time, I chose a different school. I chose CU Boulder, because that was the first school that popped into my head.
We won't hold it against you.
Yeah. And he was like, okay, you said it. I have it right here in writing. We're going to get you there. And ever since then, I was like, I really enjoy school. I really I'm getting my degree. I'm going to be able to help people. And as I went into university, like throughout my career at Red Rocks and then into university, I just got shown more and more of this world of higher education and how much of a difference that I can make for people like myself. And it just gave me the passion that I wanted and the push that I needed to just finish it and do it.
Absolutely. So it sounds like Red Rocks Community College gave you the catalyst to start looking into higher education and inspiring you for even greater heights. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
How long were you there at Red Rocks Community College?
Yeah. So I was there from 2018 to 2021, spring of 2021.
Wow. So obviously your journey didn't end there. You were talking about possibly transferring to CU Boulder. How did Colorado State University come to your mind or even in the discussion?
Yeah. So we had what really started it was the TRIO program had offered these, like, they were just little day trips to visiting different universities. So CSU, CU Boulder, and UNC and Greeley were the 3 schools that we visited. While I was at Community College of Denver, I also was able to visit with their TRIO program, but still, like, they didn't really explain what it was. I just saw, oh, I can go on trips. Okay.
That's the hook.
Right. I went to UNC. I went to Northwestern in, what is it called? In Gunnison. I went to CU Pueblo, and CU Colorado Springs. So I went to a bunch of different colleges, but what really started the conversation with CSU was the fact that we visited it. And that was like the first step, because I'd never had been on the campus. Like, I'd been to Loveland, but I had never been to Fort Collins. And it was so spread out. Like, the campus is so spread out. It's a big campus. Like, there's a lot of students, but it doesn't feel big when you're on campus. It feels like everything is within walking distance. It's very easy to find the buildings. And there's also this so much open space that
I
you
agree.
can literally, like, be on campus on a Monday afternoon and, like, everyone is switching classes. But if you find, like, the right spot, which I have found, you can't hear anybody. Like, it's so nice. CU Boulder was the complete opposite of that. It's very crowded, very, like, put, like, very, very close together. Like, you have to go through buildings to get to another building, and it's very confusing the way their campus is laid out. And then UNC and Greeley was okay. It was just the smell of Greeley, and anyone who's from Colorado and understand, like, you will know. I don't even have to describe it.
Understandable.
So I started talking to the different transfer advisors, and it was Katie at CSU who, like, was available 24/7 to me. Like, anytime I sent her an email, within a couple hours I would get an email back, or, like, the next day I would get an email back. She answered every single question, from what's the vibe on campus to, if I don't want to live on campus but I want to do a meal plan and I want to still eat in the dining hall, to, if I don't want to come to the school, what do I do?
Oh, wow. So even that discussion, because sometimes that can be a very hard thing to bring up with another college, right? Like, what if I choose not to come here? That's so interesting.
She made it so easy to have those conversations. And the other schools, they didn't make it easy. Like, I had met with Katie on campus at CSU because I wanted to continue the conversation face to face. So I set up a meeting with her. I scheduled a meeting. Like, I actually drove down to Fort Collins and was able to meet with her. I did the same to CU Boulder, to with their transfer advisor, because I was like, I'm narrowing down to these 2 schools. I need to, like, get more information.
Right.
And the advisor literally forgot we had an appointment.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So when it came time to applying, I was like, okay, I'm going to apply to all of the schools within the state during the free application day. I literally sat down at my computer for a couple hours and just pumped out all of these applications. And I heard back to all the schools within, except for one. There's a story with that one. And I had got into all of my schools. I got into CSU, and I was like, okay, how do this is where I'm going. How do I get here? The one school that I never heard back from, that literally ghosted me, was CU Boulder.
Oh, no.
So I took that as a sign, like, okay, I guess I was never meant to be above. I was meant to be a Ram. All right.
Yeah. And it worked out.
It
You
did.
came to Colorado State University. You brought your wonderful energy here. And it's amazing. And I think the university is better for it.
Yes.
Awesome. So I think it's fair to say then that your impression of CSU was very positive. You enjoyed the campus.
Yes.
Were there anything specific about academics or programs or majors that really caught your interest?
I loved the fact that CSU was part of the big three research campuses in Colorado. So, CSU, CU Boulder, UNC, and Greeley, because I was looking at psychology, and I still am. So I loved the fact that they had a very good psychology program and a very good research program for the masters and the PhDs. I also love the fact that I could get my PhD and my master's in psychology and my undergrad in psychology in one institution. So I love the fact that I didn't have to bounce around from institution to institution. I could just do it all in one place. And to me, that was a huge, huge bonus, was just being able to develop these rapport with my professors, with my advisors, and just continuing that, and them knowing, okay, this is what they did for their undergrad. They're going to be really good for graduate, or they struggled a little bit with this in undergrad. Let's help her with this in graduate school. I just really liked that.
That's awesome. Hey there. We'll be right back after a message from our sponsor.
Are you seeking guidance to enhance your TRIO project's effectiveness and success? Look no further. NOSOTROS Education Center, NEC, is here to empower your TRIO project with expert consulting services. NEC's mission is to promote the effectiveness and impact of TRIO programs. Since 2003, NEC has specialized in providing professional development and in-service staff trainings, allowable cost services, for TRIO projects across the country. The team at NEC, with over 60 years of combined TRIO experience, offers customized workshops and seminars for project staff, compliance assessments, external evaluations, working on and submitting APRs, database customization and training, development of policies and procedures manuals, and project implementation or reorganization services. Additionally, NEC has secured over $774 million in federal funding with a 92% success rate through their live and on-demand proposal workshops, assistance with data collection and review, detailed technical reviews, and comprehensive proposal development services. Join the hundreds of colleges, agencies, and TRIO projects across the country who benefited from NEC's expertise. NOSOTROS Education Center, your partner in TRIO's project success. Visit their website at nosotros.edu.org. Again, that's nosotros.edu.org.
And now, back to the podcast. What is it about the field that you chose that fascinates you the most?
I love people watching, obviously. But I love learning about people and learning about what makes them tick, because people are just so interesting to me. There's such a I'm going to call this a species for a minute, but people are just a fascinating species, because if you look at cats, dogs, animals, they have their patterns, and they're just programmed to do certain things at certain times. People don't have they have patterns, but they don't have as intricate patterns as animals do. We go off and do our own thing whenever we want. And it's so fascinating to me. But I also love the fact that everybody has a story, and first generation students in particular, and students first generation people, higher education, and people with disabilities have a different way of thinking than your neurotypical person or your traditional student. And just figuring out those differences and figuring out what makes a person tick when it comes to first gen people and neurodivergent people. Like it's so fascinating to me.
Yeah. Fascinating. That's wonderful. Wonderful. Just to kind of steal your words a little bit of fascinating.
Yeah.
So you also served as a vice president for this past term for the Associated Students ASCSU. Did I get that right?
You got it right.
So what was that experience like that for you, and what inspired you to run for that position?
That experience, that is a tricky one. Like not a tricky question, but I don't regret that experience at all. Like I loved being in that position. I love the experiences that I got, but some of it was kind of negative. Most of it was positive. But literally what inspired me to run was this was my second semester ever at CSU when I was thinking about this. And I was like, I'm still learning the campus. Like I've only been here for a semester. People aren't going to want to vote for me for that. So why don't I like think about something smaller? Like, let me just stay on student government, maybe get a position in the executive branch, maybe the judicial branch.
Yeah.
And let me just kind of ease my way into it, because I was still learning everything. I was still learning the school, still trying to find my my place. At this point I had changed my major, so this was the second time I had changed my major. So I was like, I'm just gonna ease into it. Well, I had gotten a call, and normally when I get phone calls, I don't recognize number, I don't answer. That's just me.
Well, yeah, I mean, you get an unknown number, people are not going to answer.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, I don't know who this is, so I won't answer. And then I get a text message, and it said, hey, this is Rob from Senate. I have a question for you. And I'm thinking, Rob.
Interesting.
Do I know a Rob? Who's Rob? Who? And Amara starts, he was like, yeah, I'm the senator for the College of Business. I'm like, oh, I know you, Rob. Okay. And he was like, I heard you were thinking about running for something. And I was like, yeah, I'm thinking about it, but I don't think I don't think it's for me, because, this is just my second semester. I'm not sure. I'm still trying to find my place. And he was like, well, I was thinking for running for president. Would you be my vice president? And I was like,
wow.
Okay. I didn't know what to. I just said, okay, I didn't know what to say to that. So I was like, sure, why not? What's the worst that can happen? We actually get elected, sure. Like, and I'm thinking at the time, like, there's no way we're gonna win. Whatever. And we ended up being the only ones on the ballot, and we ended up winning. And I was like,
wow.
Oh. My second semester, and I'm already the incoming student body vice president.
That's amazing. Congratulations on that, Elijah. That is amazing. I mean, did you have to do a lot of campaigning to get elected?
Yeah, that was the part that like really surprised me, because I was part of student government at the community college level. And you think the community college level, like Red Rocks had, like, last time I talked to the president, which was last week, she said that they have like 3,000 students. So coming from an institution that only has 3,000 students to an institution that has 33,000 was a huge change. And
I bet.
At Red Rocks, like, you run, like, my fiance was student body vice president at Red Rocks, but he didn't campaign for the entire school. He was voted in by the student government. So I thought, okay, that's just how it's going to be. No, you had to campaign for 2 weeks. You had campaigning with the entire school, like, because it was the student body that voted. And I'm like, that is very different than what I'm used to.
Definitely.
So I was out there all those 2 weeks, like, pounding pavement, handing out flyers, talking to students, and getting the name out there. I did radio interviews. We did TV interviews with the CSU TV. We did newspaper interviews. We talked to different classes and like different organizations. And those were the longest 2 weeks of my life. Like, it was a lot.
Yeah.
And then when elections opened that Monday, we found out that there was a write-in candidate. And we were like, okay, cool. We wanted people to run against us because that was our theme throughout the entire 2 weeks was, we don't care who you are, vote. If you want to make a change, run with us. Like we're opening the invitation to you all.
Mm-hmm.
These write-in candidates, they only had 3 days of campaigning during the election, during the voting season, the voting time. They had, in those 3 days, they had gotten the most votes for a write-in candidate in the history of ASCSU in 3 days. I was like, imagine what you could have done if you were taking that entire 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the position was very hard. It was very challenging. It got me to question myself and my leadership, but I also learned a lot about myself and my leadership and what I want to do. So
right on. That's always good to know, right? Like when you experience something, what you learned from it. Now that you served your term, what's next for you at CSU?
Yeah, so I'm going to be coming back to AAC, being a peer mentor because I absolutely love it. But I think I'm either going to come back to Senate and be a senator for the first generation students and be a voice for students, or go onto the judicial branch and work on making ASCSU a little bit more cohesive, a little bit better, like a little bit more put together. And the reason why I say judicial branch is because if I do that, then I would have been part of all 3 branches within ASCSU. Yeah. And I had talked to the advisors and the co-advisors, and they said that maybe like a handful of students have done that in the 52 years that ASCSU has been a thing. So yeah.
Amazing. Elijah, can you tell us about what the AAC is? Because you keep saying AAC, and in the beginning of the episode, we were talking a little bit about the AAC, but can you tell us what the AAC is and how did you learn about it?
Yeah, so the AAC, and you'll have to help me with this.
Sure, I can jump in.
The AAC is the Academic Advancement Center at CSU, and it's essentially CSU's TRIO program. And to my understanding, it's for students who are low income, students with disabilities, and first generation students. Did I get that? That
is right? Correct. You are on the spot. First generation, limited income, and students with disabilities. So you're spot on.
Yay. And it's meant to be like an extra branch, an extra arm, helping hands. We have tutors that are specific to the AAC that only AAC students have access to. We have, I call them advisors, but they're retention specialists, which in my mind, I hear retention specialists, and I'm like, are you trying to keep me from dropping out? Are you trying to retain me? But
I mean, that's in the title, right? The objective is to keep you going from semester to semester.
But they're advisors. I say that some of my mentors are within AAC because any door that's open, I knock. I'm like, hey, what you doing? Oh, you're free? Cool. I have word vomit. I need help. And most of the time they're like, okay, yeah, come in, close the door. What can I help you with? Sometimes they're like, I can't help you right now, but maybe if there's another advisor you can go to, or if you want to schedule a time later, I'm like, okay, I'll go see whose door is open. And like 95% of the time I can find someone who's available. Yeah. We also have do field trips with AAC students. Like there are sometimes that like the group has gone to Meow Wolf in Denver, or the ballet during the winter season within Fort Collins. So yeah, that's what AAC is. And am I missing anything?
No, you're good. I was going to ask you a follow-up is, in what ways did it help you?
Yeah, so it helped me stay at CSU, honestly.
It helped you stay. Okay.
Because this past semester, it's probably like my entire time at CSU has been very rocky. It's not a smooth road, but I'd be like looking at it side-eyed if it was a smooth road, because I'd be like, okay, something's wrong here. This is too easy. Why is this road smooth and paved? Like, what happened to the rocks? What happened to the potholes? Like, something's wrong. But it has really, like, it's just helped me find my purpose. Like, yeah, I was student body vice president, but at the time, during that time, I was a peer mentor, and I've been a peer mentor as I was during the entire time. And I loved being a peer mentor more than I loved being vice president, because at least, like, yeah, with vice president, like, you can make an institutional change, but there's no guarantee that change will stick. Like, there's no guarantee that the administration will go with that change. There's no guarantee that the board of governors would agree to that change. So it's kind of hit and miss. With being a peer mentor and connecting with my students, I know that I'm making a change in their life. Like, it's smaller, yes. Like, I think so far I've had about 15-30 students, but I know that I'm making a difference in their life. I know that I'm helping them in a way, and I can see that I'm helping them. Whereas the student body, like, I'm pretty sure I could talk to all 33,000 students. It would be kind of tough, but I can't make those connections, and I can't, like, I'm not 100% sure that I'm making a change in their lives. Plus, like, AAC has given me a glimpse of what my future can look like with careers.
That's awesome.
That's AAC is where I learned that I really wanted to be a part of higher education. Like, I knew that I wanted to help students. I knew that I wanted to help first generation students, because my road to higher ed was, like, I felt like I was walking barefoot on gravel. It was so hard. So I wanted to try and make it easier for students like me. But AAC is what showed me this is what it's called. This is what we do.
Amazing.
And
yeah,
it just, like, it gave me that road. Like, you can be here too. You can do this too.
Yeah.
It's even it's as weird as it sounds, it's even given me confidence to speak up for myself and advocate for myself. And I said I had talked to the president of Red Rocks Community College last week, and I asked her, like, hey, do you have any openings within your school that I would be able to join the team, because this is what I want to do? And she's like, yeah, I think we can find some places for you. Let me see what we can do. And, like, I was able to get that conversation started, and I wouldn't have been able to do that hadn't I learned how to do that, and AAC taught me how to do that.
That's amazing, Elijah. That's amazing. What is something memorable so far in your participation with the AAC that sticks out in your mind? What have you enjoyed the most?
Do you want me to pick just one?
I am putting you to only one. I'll be lenient. You could do a top 3, but that's it.
All right. I think the one that, like, comes to mind, like, there is one that comes to mind, and that was the end of semester celebrations.
Oh yeah. Those are always fun.
I wasn't able to go to the one in the spring because I had literally just forgotten about it. But the one in the fall, I remember we all got together, the staff, some of the administration, and the graduating students and their families, and I just seeing how we honored the graduating students and, like, was able to give them this beautiful send-off. It was like, I want to do that. I want to get there. How do I get there? Because, growing up, higher education was not something that I had thought was possible. I hadn't even thought about it. Like, we've talked about it. I didn't even think about it. And I see how these students were being honored and going on to bigger and better things and making a difference in the world, I was like, it brought tears to my eyes. It was so beautiful. So that's the one thing that comes to mind. So I was able to give it to just one.
Yeah, there you go. I like how you narrowed it down. Reflecting on your experience and your college journey, what is something that you would change?
Oh, my college journey. Asking for help sooner.
That seems to be kind of a running thread among TRIO students and first generation students, is asking for help. Why do you think that may be the thing?
Yeah, so I think for me personally, it was a combination of, I didn't know what resources were available to me. And growing up, I had to figure out how to do things on my own. You know, my mom was working, my grandparents, like, they were working, but they also like spent time with me. They also raised me, but I love them dearly, but they were so out of touch to what my childhood was like, and their childhood and their age. So I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know like that I could ask for help because I was just so used to doing everything on my own. Like, I wanted to learn how to make hot dogs. I literally watched a YouTube video for it, which is, I still burnt them in boiling water. How I burnt them in boiling water, I don't know how I did that, but I did. So like, I was always used to researching things and just figuring things out on my own. But when I went to CCD, I didn't know that there were resources for me to help me figure out what I wanted to do. It wasn't until I went to Red Rocks that I learned that there were like career aptitude tests that I can take to figure out which degree path would be most suited for me. I didn't know that the TRIO program, like, yeah, I knew about it, but I didn't know just the extent of it. I didn't know that I could ask teachers like, hey, I'm having a bad mental health week, I need extensions. 95% of the time, if you ask them before the due date, they're able to give you those extensions. Like, I just didn't know that these were options for me until slowly I learned it. And then when I got to CCD or CSU and I started working with AAC more, I started learning, hey, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask for guidance. It's okay to be vulnerable and still be protective of yourself, but still be like, hey, I'm having a bad mental health week. I'm going to need the week off. Okay, no big deal. Just we'll see you back here on Monday and we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wonderful. What are your plans this summer? Because the summer is coming up it's almost here. Like, you have this week and then that's it.
I'm doing nothing.
I love it. That's a good plan.
I'm still gonna take classes because I had recently changed my major again, so this marks number 4. But you know what? That's what college is. You change your major and you figure out what fits. No shame. I have no shame. But I'm gonna do at least 2 classes. I am working with a group called Accepted Consulting and Accepted Society, which I can definitely go into that on a later date.
Wow. Yeah.
But it's a really amazing group that was built by students for students, and it's absolutely wonderful. So I'm working with them, running a study group at night on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then, other than that, I'm gonna be sitting by my pool reading, because I have like 15 books on my TBR list that I have got throughout the year.
Yeah.
Alex and I, my fiance, we're going to be taking some road trips. So we're going to go to Iowa to see his family, and then possibly to San Diego later in the semester. Later in the summer, we'll see how that goes. But other than that, I'm doing nothing. I'm just relaxing and taking care of myself.
That's what summer should be. Relaxing and taking care of yourself. You recently became engaged. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, like I said, we've been together for 8 years. I met Alex actually a week after my dad passed away. He met me here. He found me. I like to say it because I was just in a really dark spot. I was being extremely reckless, and I will leave that up to the imagination. But before I could do anything, like I was on the verge of being reckless, but before I could do anything, he found me and he stopped me. And it just was like love at first sight. And we've had our arguments, of course, because every couple does. We have our disagreements. We're definitely not on the same path. Like he's computer science. He and I'm more psychology and the humanities part of things. He recently got, or not recently, but within like the last 3 years, got a really, really good paying job. So he pays for literally everything. I work because I choose to, because I want to. And we graduated from the same community college, and both raised by single moms. But yeah, he's my friend. I can go on, and I feel like I'm like a schoolgirl every time I talk about him. But yeah, he's my forever human.
That's awesome. What do you hope to do after you graduate from college?
Yeah, so I hope to I have two plans, two things that I can go either way. The first one is working either at CSU or Red Rocks, working in higher education, working with students, and then working on getting my master's in higher education and psychology. So that's the first one. The second one is, once I graduate, going straight into grad school and working on my master's, and working with students still, but part-time.
All right. That's awesome. What advice do you have for students who are thinking about going to college?
Go to community college first. See if it
solid advice.
That's the main thing, because I have seen a lot of 18, 19-year-olds fresh out of high school going into university, and I see them around campus and they're like deer caught in headlights. Like most of them don't know what they're doing. They kind of just make it up as they go along, which, to be fair, that's what I do too. But it's very different going from high school into university and going from like being a big fish in a small pond to a small fish in the freaking ocean. And it's tough because, you have your general ed classes and you're one of like 200 students. And it's very hard to build rapport with your professors and make those connections and learn how to make those connections. Whereas community college, like, yeah, I'm older, I'm an older student, but it literally was the best thing that I could have done, is go to community college, because there you have smaller class sizes, you can explore a little bit more what you want to do, and it's very low risk. So when I was in community college, I think I changed my major like 3-4 times, and each time was like, okay, classes I've already taken still translates into the new major. Whereas in university, you only have a short window to do that. And then it's like then you just end up wasting money at that point, because you're taking classes that don't count towards anything. Me, with changing my major so many times, I'm very thankful, because each time I've changed my major, I still have classes that fit in to the major that I change it to, either as electives or core classes. So I'm not having seeing a lot of those repercussions, but I know eventually, like once I start getting into my higher classes, I will. But with community college, like, you can explore, you can figure out what you want to do, you can have fun, and it's very low stakes. So if you want to go into higher education, start with community college, see if that's like right for you. And if that's right for you, finish it, get your associates, and then if you decide that you want to go on to university, you can. And then when you go to university, you're literally transferring in as a junior.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those core classes, like you've done them already, and you only have 2 years as opposed to 4 years, or however many years it takes you.
Yeah. What about advice that you have for trio students? Any words of wisdom for them? Any words of wisdom for them?
Yeah. Same thing. Like, just, if you're, well, I guess if you're in a trio program, you're already in community college or higher education.
Somewhere in the path, right?
Right. I guess, like, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to explore what you want to do, because that's like the best thing that, in my opinion, trio offers, is it gives you that chance to explore. It gives you that chance to look at different things, and there's low to zero repercussions. It gives you the chance to explore different areas of things that you want to do, and you're not paying for it. Like, it's already paid for, so take advantage of it. Like, and if you're like me, like, if you're at CSU, go to Gibbons, and just, like, you don't have to talk to your specific advisor, your specific retention specialist. You can talk to anyone, and everyone is going to be able to help you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. What is one word you would use to describe yourself?
Chaotic.
Chaotic? Chaotic, why?
I just realized I answered that way too fast.
That was a very quick answer. Elijah, I'm telling you, so I usually ask this question to the guests, and they give me these one-word answers, right? I usually use that as their title for their episode. So you're going to see chaotic Elijah Sandoval.
Yep. I'm chaotic. Like, I like so many random things. I like so many different things. I change my mind all the time. It's very rare that I like have one thing and I stick to it. And I also, it's part of being neurodivergent, because I get bored very easily, and I always want to like change it up and do different things.
Right.
But just my childhood, the way I was raised, like my higher education journey, like, it's all been chaotic. And you ask any of my friends like how they would describe me, and I'm about 95% of them would say chaotic, because that's just me. I'm chaos.
So then the episode is aptly named Chaotic, or can we call it Chaos? What would you prefer?
Chaotic organization.
Chaotic organization. Okay.
Yeah, or something along those lines. Because, like, yeah, I'm chaotic, but I'm also tame. I'm organized. I'm very like thoughtful and intentional. So yeah, I don't know, but definitely chaotic.
Well, between now and before we publish the episode, feel free to change it if you want, or we can keep chaotic. I don't mind either one.
So if we see chaotic, I didn't change it. If you see something else that has to do
if it
with
shows
chaos.
up on the feed as chaotic, it's because Elijah said we need to keep it that way.
Yep.
Now, kind of a good segue into the next question. Are there any books, TV shows, movies, podcasts, or things that you've been engaging in that you would like to recommend to our audience?
Ooh, so really, like, anything that sparks your interest, listen to it, read up on it, learn about it. It, like, for me, I've been on a true crime kick, so that's also part of the chaos.
Right on.
But then also I've been learning a lot about like organization. Like, I've been reading Building a Second Brain, and I can't remember who the author is. But I've been reading that. I've been reading, there's a book called Burnout. I've been reading that. There's a book about how to set boundaries, and I'll send you a list on like all of it. So like those are mine, but really, like, and then also for TV shows, I've been weirdly obsessed with Young Sheldon.
Oh, okay.
But I don't like Big Bang Theory. So
gotcha.
I don't know how that translates, but it does. And then for like games, I have been obsessed with Harry Potter Legacies. I love it. I'm a true Slytherin to the heart. So that's my house. But yeah, just little bit of everything for me, but really, like, if there's something that sparks your interest and there's something that you love learning about, like, or just like that makes you happy, read it, like, watch it, listen to it, do it, as long as it's not illegal, obviously. Yeah.
Awesome. Elijah, it has been a pleasure to have you on this podcast. We will definitely do a follow-up episode sometime in the future. And yeah, we'd love to have you on again.
I would love that. That sounds amazing. This has been so much fun. And yeah, I just want to spread the chaos everywhere I can.
Love it. So we have a tradition on the Let's Talk Trio podcast where we have the guests sign off. Do you care to do the honors?
I would be honored to. Hi, this is Elijah Sandoval, and I am a participant of the AAC at Colorado State University. I am chaotic, I am wild, I am put together, I am a first-gen student, and Trio works.
Are you a participant, alum, or staff of a Trio program? Do you want your program highlighted? You or your program could be featured in an upcoming episode of Let's Talk Trio. Get a hold of us by going to our Facebook page or Instagram and send us a direct message. Search for Let's Talk Trio. We want to get your story to the public.
That was our guest, Elijah Sandoval from Colorado State University's Academic Advancement Center. Elijah, thank you so much for being on the podcast and for sharing your Trio story. Remember, if you would like to be on the Let's Talk Trio podcast or know a staff, advocate, or participant or alumni, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. Again, a huge thanks to our sponsors, Angelica Villalpando, Dr. Jamie Motley, Dr. Ryan Barone, Angelica Valdez, Rosario Riley, TrioJoblist.com, Nosotros Education Center, Jaded Electronics, and Student Access. Thank you all so much for your continued support of this podcast. Remember, you can support or be a patron of this podcast. If you want to be a patron of this podcast, head on over to Patreon, search for Let's Talk Trio. Select one of 4 levels to support this podcast. You can support this podcast for as little as $1 a month. $1 a month does go a long way in supporting this podcast. If you own a business and would like to advertise on this podcast, we have a sponsorship level for businesses. Connect with us for details. I'd like to take a moment to thank our honorary members of the Let's Talk Trio podcast, Roderick Chambers, Tony Ho, Scott Kendall, and Susan Cramp. The Let's Talk Trio podcast team is John Russell, audio engineer, music producer and composer, and post-production editor. Amelia Castañeda, script supervisor, marketing manager, social media manager, and producer. Juan Rivas, executive producer and host. This episode was recorded Monday, May 8th, 2023. Remember, your right to vote is crucial. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode.